Thanks for joining us today on this Tug of War Wednesday. We are still out there selling calls on our long stock positions. So far we've sold April out of the money calls in Vale and Honeywell. We have other high beta names on our list: Chesapeake, Bank of America, U.S. Steel, Visa, Mosaic, Joy Global, Chevron, Boeing, and BHP. We like owning all of them, but if we continue to see stocks rise, we don't want to be pigs, and summer is coming up. Look at the past 5 years of trading. June has been a pretty brutal month. Now, while we don't think you can sell in May and go away, we do think that there is seasonal weakness for the month of June. So, what we're going to do is take the same list that you have above and go out and buy June puts on every single one of them. If we see that usual weakness in June, we're going to sell out of those puts and use the cash to buy the dip if we get a weak summer. We continue to like 1200 as a target for the S&P 500 index for this year. If you take seriously the EPS target being raised from $75 of earnings to $80 of earnings for the S&P, on our 16 PE for the S&P, you're looking at $12.80 by the end of the year. So we'll stick with the 1200, look for a weak summer, and that should give us all the room we need to get to 1200 by the end of the year. We're still 52 points away from 1200, so we think we'll have to see another correction of 5 to 7% before the year's over before we begin to see that target. In case EPS is a new term for you, it stands for earnings per share. That's the number you get when you take the overall profit of the company after interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, and then divide that number by the float. That's the amount of shares of the company's stock that is available to trade, and you'll get EPS. In order to get forward or expected EPS, you'll have to take the analyst's calculations on that number unless you're good at modeling. We're not saying you can't, but it's likely that if you're listening to this, you're not the kind of person who will. To get an EPS for the entire S&P, just add up each individual company's EPS, and that should get you somewhere between $75 and $80 for the year. To get the PE number we're using for the S&P, go ahead and go to www.youtube.com/MOFinancial and look for the 5th video down. It should have a picture of our dry erase board with all kinds of writing on it. The video is titled How to Find a Top and Bottom on the S&P 500. Check out that video and we'll walk you through the math. Hope this is helpful in shoring up your book. We do like the dip on A1, BVN, CGA, and TC. If you're itching for a speculative trade with all this talk about Citi issuing trust preferred, Jamba Juice, symbol JMBA, dipped back below $2, down nearly 8%. They've really increased their menu of offerings to add grab-and-go salads, which does fit the profile of someone who is at Jamba Juice to begin with. Jamba Juice has very little market penetration over the country, and it's the kind of name brand for smoothies, kind of like Kleenex is for tissues. The company will actually has very little debt, only $300,000 compared to nearly $30 million in cash, so we'd be buyers of the dip in Jamba Juice today. Tune in tomorrow as I interview Brad on his trip to BJ's restaurant, symbol BJRI. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow.